Doc, I've got a special guest, two special guests for you today.
What do you got?
Number one,
Do the reveal.
in studio, we have the only wrestler in history to have held the WWE Championship, the ECW World Heavyweight Championship, and the TNA World Heavyweight Championship. He's also won more championships than any other WWE wrestler. Ladies and gentlemen, Rob Van Dam.
Rob Van Dam. Rob Van Dam. Rob Van Dam. But you said we have another guest.
Well, we do, and he's known only as Mysterio.
Ooh. Mysterio.
All right. Well, Rob, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
You're obviously an acclaimed wrestler and also a
World
big
class athlete.
World-class athlete.
World-class athlete.
I'm very accomplished.
Why don't you tell us a little bit about how you got involved in cannabis, how that started, Rob?
Fitting for the title here. How did I get involved? That's I guess it was just a really organic
Nice.
kind of transition from being a fitness-minded kid who was told in school to stay away from marijuana because it was just like LSD or acid, and it was a hallucinogenic, and it was bad. It would make me go crazy. And then shortly into my wrestling career, I noticed a lot of the athletes that I respected, that were in very good condition, were using cannabis. And so I started to question it. And
Seems counterintuitive, right? You thought your whole life you heard that. Like we talked about, Doc. We heard the same thing.
yeah, I mean, I still remember like way back in 91 when my partner, the guy who helped train me, Sabu, he would drive. Him and this guy, Judge Dredd, they would smoke a joint, and me and this other kid that was with me, we'd be in the back seat with our head out the window, and they'd be blowing.
Still afraid.
They'd try and lock the windows closed and blow it at us. They thought it was so fun. Stop it! You're killing us. Put our shirt over our head, yeah, and then gave in to peer pressure. Hit it a couple times, and then it became more and more of a regular thing. And it wasn't until ECW days and High Times magazine coming around my way before I think I became an advocate. Because
A couple questions. First of all, when you were using the cannabis, because we just found out recently in San Francisco they're opening up a gym that's going to be cannabis-friendly gym, and that a lot of the athletes are saying the reason we use cannabis, it helps us focus. It helps us, to maintain our focus on what we're doing.
The runners too,
Right, the
Frank?
runners and everything like that. So did you find that it helped you? Your focus in your training?
I was able to incorporate it eventually, but it didn't start that way. It started more of like a recreational thing.
Okay.
I was in Jamaica for my 21st birthday. Had never gotten high. All the other wrestlers were so excited because they had garbage bags full of weed. I didn't get it, but a couple of the guys, were hit it, Prima Don. Everyone else is.
Right,
It's not gonna
right.
kill you. Hit it. So one or two, tokes on that was my first experience with it. And then I was bouncing at a bar where one of the bouncers would smoke a joint every night after work in his car, and he would say, "Hey, I'm just, I'd say, I don't know. I mean, I just did that like 2 days this week. What am I doing? Turning into a pothead?"
Right.
And he'd say, "Well, you don't have to. You can sit in the car and talk. You don't have to smoke." So started going through that. So it wasn't really, I was wrestling at the time, but I was like just turned 21, old enough to drink and smoke for the first time legally, actually. But in Jamaica, but I was 21 was the point I was trying to make.
Because one of, as I'm sure, just preaching to the choir, and part of the medicinal benefits of cannabis, number one, it's a bronchodilator. So it's going to open up your lungs. So you're going to be able to breathe better. Number two, it's a vasodilator. So you're not going to have any kind of hypertension. You're going to actually relax the musculature of the walls of your arteries. So you're going to actually be able to function as a machine much more efficiently when you can transfer more of your oxygen through your blood cells by having your lungs expand, by having your blood vessels open up so you can get the blood to the muscles.
Although isn't it possible though that having this in your blood system takes the place of oxygen, and that's why my heart rate might be slightly up because it's not getting enough oxygen per pump? Because I've always felt that if I was gonna take a pulse and try and go for my all record lowest pulse, I probably wouldn't smoke right before because of that factor.
You know, it's actually the complete if purely from a mechanical standpoint with the heart increases its rate with more resistance. So when you decrease the resistance, you're actually going to lower the amount your heart has to work in order to pump the blood through the arteries. It would be the opposite of that. I don't know how it affected you. Everybody's going to be different. But number one, number two,
I don't think it does affect me anymore.
well, but the cannabis doesn't block the ability for the hemoglobin to hold the oxygen. It works completely differently. I mean, intracellularly, the endocannabinoid system works in the cell itself to make it more efficient. So it's not going to work like that. But the reason I'm bringing this up, would you consider, because we had this conversation last week, does the fact that cannabis can allow you to breathe better, allow your muscles to work better, would you consider that a performance-enhancing substance? I'm not going to use the word drug.
Right.
Is it a performing-enhancing substance if you can focus better, your heart works better, and your lungs work better?
I think it all depends on where you draw the line, okay? Because you're asking me to look at it from a certain perspective of just athletics, and I happen to believe cannabis can be a life enhancer, and from that perspective, sure, it can make everything better if you use it in a positive way. At the same time, wherever you draw the lines, if you're going to say, yeah, but it does have a chemical effect on your body, therefore, well, then how about cigarettes? I mean, they're all smoking.
Well, cigarettes we know doesn't help because the carbon monoxide actually does bind to the hemoglobin module. We know that because that's carboxyhemoglobin. We know that hurts it. But the cannabis does not seem to be affecting the blood cells the same way.
I find it to be advantageous, but again, it's from a wider point of view. When it comes to performing, yes, I've written articles about it in Cannabis Culture. I had a big article after Michael Phelps got busted because it was all over the news, of course,
right.
And it was so relevant to I went on Geraldo, and that what's her name, Guilfoyle, Kimberly Guilfoyle, whoever's on her show,
right.
She was saying, well, Michael Phelps, he should put the bong down and eat some vegetables or something like that. And I just thought, like, here's the world's greatest athlete.
Right. I mean, you couldn't be in better shape.
And we find out that he smokes. Like, instead of trying to bring him down to everyone's level, isn't it possible we could learn something from that? Like, wait, athletes can be using cannabis and still perform at that level. So that's why, like, I've always wondered why they didn't look at it that way. It's an ignorant perspective, I think,
right,
to try to just say, well, that's bad, let's not learn about it and ignore it. Truth is, a lot of athletes, and now we know that NBA players use it, NFL is looking at it for a neurological protectant, and which I've been talking about for so many years. But yeah, I mean, it can help you focus. It can help you feel at your best. You know, we're traveling a lot. A lot of times it's different time zones. You're not just eating 3 square meals a day at home. You know what I mean? You're on the road. So there's no telling how you feel. But when you're there to perform, everyone bought a ticket 3 weeks ago to see you at your best, and you got to deliver. So whatever, you could be tired, you could be any negative effects you could have. You know, your body could, like you said, have physical pain. You could be exhausted, whatever. But if I find that if you can use cannabis to increase, I like to say, increase your vibration, your spiritual frequency. You just feel like you're at your best, and that's done through a coping mechanism of being able to deal with these negative effects that would otherwise bring you down. So it's advantageous. I don't know if it would be an enhancement from a drug perspective, but again, I mean, I got to know where you draw the lines. Where I draw the lines, no, I think it's fine.
You see these articles all the time on Yahoo or whatever. These wrestlers, they're banged up, they're in pain, they take a lot of Vicodin, they're on a lot of the opioids. What's your experience with that? Have you seen that?
Oh, many times over the years. I know someone that took over 80 10 milligram hydrocodones a day. Yes, and
a day.
And a good friend of mine would take over 100 somas. And he actually overdosed and fatally. And a lot of my friends and peers have died. It was big news several years ago. For some reason, after Eddie Guerrero died, even though they didn't relate that to drug use, there was a lot of crackdown on all the wrestlers that had died under the age of 45 in a short time period.
Yeah.
But they related the wrestling to like NFL or something and said if that many football players died, there'd be a big. But the thing is it's a touring entertainment, more like a rock and roll kind of lifestyle,
sure.
or it can be. But one important fact, like with WWE, they do a very vigorous drug testing. They have a wellness program right now that the wrestlers adhere to, and it's a whole different generation than.
Do they not allow opioids on there?
Well, I would imagine they wouldn't do that. Do they allow cannabis?
No.
They do not allow cannabis. In fact, Rob himself experienced the brunt of that, as you know, as well known. You could talk about that if you want.
Well, this you're probably talking about my very famous
in Ohio
bust. Yeah, for possession. It was
in Ohio, asshole state.
I know.
That's where Ron's from.
I had the WWE Championship belt and the ECW Championship belt at the time, so it was really big news because I had the spotlight on me and I lost both belts. Got suspended for 30 days, cost me tens of thousands of dollars, but that officer unfriendly. Joke was on him. I made one phone call. I had more weed later that night.
Well, the question is why.
That was before they
it,
tested.
yeah,
I just want to bring that up. They didn't test.
Well, hold on,
they didn't
Doc.
test.
Wait,
Doc, I wanna say
but
something.
why?
At the
Why
time,
are
they
they?
didn't.
Why would
Now they do.
wrestling ban cannabis?
Well,
I
it's
mean, is it just
federally-
because it's illegal?
Federally
illegal.
That's
but
why.
what if you were in a state that
Yeah,
where
but this
where
was
it's
20
legal?
years ago. This was 06,
Well, right
actually.
now, but we're
This was
talking about
06.
right now. Is it legal right now?
Right now, it's not legal. They test for it. It's a last I knew, it's $1,000 fine if you get caught, and then if you get caught a couple times, they can use that against you. Especially the younger talent trying to come up that are a little more flexible, and they will really crack down on them and say we need to get a positive test from you. It's not just a choice. And we have come a long way in the last few years, and we're really moving now. Like just a few years ago, it was a minority of the people that thought it should be legal. Now it's the majority, and I don't think anybody truly believes that there's no medicinal value in it. I mean,
Well, the
Except for
guy,
the head of
the
the
head of
DEA.
DEA does.
he's full of shit. I don't think he believes that either. And you saw that when they were questioning him, and he wouldn't answer.
Of course
and they said,
not.
How
What-
the f- are we gonna,
How about the one before it, Michelle Leinhart, when she was sitting there in the middle of the congressional and the Congress case? Do you think that cannabis is as bad as heroin?
Right.
I think all drugs are bad. Okay, now that's not what I asked
Right,
you. Do you think cannabis is as bad as acid? I think all drugs are bad. Let's
See.
Put 'em in the same
why
thing.
won't they answer the question?
His thing is the RVD 420. And that's his T-shirt, Rob Van Dam 420, and it came because of the Steve Austin had the 317 or whatever, and then he's got the 420, which is fantastic. And his signature move is the 420 leg drop.
What does that entail? Could you do
Maybe
that?
demonstrate
Come
that on Mysterio for us.
What is the 420 leg drop?
Well, okay, this was the 420 leg drop was when Rey Mysterio, who you might be related to, I don't know. Rey Mysterio and I were tag team champions, and I would pick him up, and he would stick his legs out, and then I would jump up and kick my legs out, and we would land on the guy. And to get the move called that on TV, I had to explain it because
Right.
Paul Heyman, one time he came up to me and he said that Vince said, "Is that a drug reference?" And he said, "What can I tell you?" I said, "No." I said, "It's 420. We got 4 legs that are dropping down. I got size 12. He's got size 8. So that's our shoe size."
Combined shoe size.
Yeah.
And did that fly? Did he?
Yeah. They were
he
calling
bought
it
that?
the 420 leg drop. That's their
Dude, I think
yeah.
that's a testament to your influence on the sport right there because
you go.
I don't even think Mysterio would buy that.
Little tongue in cheek.
That's
inside for the
awesome.
people
I
that
think that's
know,
brilliant
you
that he
know.
got that by. He's very open about it, and the RVD 420 was, I smoked your ass instead of Steve Austin's I kicked your ass. Awesome.
The fans in Queens started showing up with posters that said RVD 420. So that's the way I remember it. I got to give it to them. Yeah.
Yeah, and you embraced it and you put it on your shirt, and it's awesome. I love that he just puts it out there like you do, Doc. It's just like, look, why are we lying to people? Why did you and I and him grow up thinking that this was an evil, awful thing? Why did we think everything's ass backwards?
Money, money, money. Can I share a quick little story with you?
Please.
Please, that's why you're here, man.
So 5-6 years ago, probably 6 years ago, maybe even longer, 6, 7. Anyway, my wife had stage 3 colon cancer, went to City of Hope, went through the surgery, all the chemo, all that shit. We're at a dietitian's meeting, nutritionist of some sort, and I'm there with all these old people and sick people, and there's a lady on stage talking, and a lady raises her hand, this old lady, and she says, what can I do to eat more? She says, because I'm so tired and weak, and I don't feel like eating. And the lady was like, well, just try, just keep trying. There's little tricks, like you can put evaporated milk, like on your food. It adds some more calories and shit. And I was just like, Jesus, people are fucking dying. And I raised my hand. I said, what about medicinal marijuana? She goes, okay, since you brought it up, I can talk about this.
Right.
I'm not allowed to.
It's taboo.
She says and then she tells everybody. Then some patients have found that it can help with nausea, with pain, with not being able to insomnia, and with appetite. And she started naming all this, and I felt like, not only did I feel like, holy fuck, what an evil agenda that is to not tell the people. When you're in California where it is legal, and City of Hope treats thousands of sick patients, but I felt obligated, like I thought I have to go there every day at every meeting and bring it up, which I didn't, but I kind of wanted to. Like if I could have, if I had enough money, I'd pay someone to do that, just to sit at a meeting every time,
bring it up.
And as a matter of fact, I actually sat in on a meeting with the board of directors because I was going to try to implement that change, but I wasn't able to pursue it and be proactive enough.
I hope over time that it's already moving in the right direction.
Sure.
You're absolutely right, but
it is. A lot of people died and suffered in the meantime.
Yeah, listen.
Well, didn't your wife use it for
out there.
chemotherapy, right?
Sure.
I mean, we're out there and we're doing this show. I mean, this show is about making people. I'm putting it out there. I got a medical degree. I mean, I don't know what the medical board's going to be looking at this kind of stuff. I would love to be able to use cannabis. I can't do that. I'm afraid of what the medical board is going to say. I got hip pain. I got neck pain. I don't want to take opioids. I don't want to take anti-inflammatories. I can't. It's not part of what is allowed.
It seems like you really avoid stress. Stress is like the ultimate evil and should be avoided at all costs. And as Doc and you seem to say that's what destroys the body, right?
For sure. Absolutely.
So and you use cannabis to help alleviate that.
It ages you. It diseases you, if that's a real word. I don't know.
Yeah, we'll use it. We'll turn it into a verb. Let's
make it a
verb.
word.
All right, cool.
I like it. Mysterio, are you into this? Perfect.
All right. And it is the ultimate enemy to human health in every which way. Besides the immediate short term of having a life, it lowers the quality of your life. Stress sucks. Sometimes we need it in certain forms, like when you're working out and you need, pressure, whatever. But
do you feel that before you go in the ring? Do you
of
feel,
course,
but that's in a good way, right?
I put pressure on myself, and I don't think I have a choice. But it's more afraid to fuck up. You know what I mean? Like I do moves that are considered high risk, and if I just slipped up on one of them, I would just beat myself. The perfectionist that I am out there would beat myself up until
we were watching your stuff. You
like,
don't jump off the ramp.
Oh my
right,
God.
He jumps off the top of the steel
he
cage.
jumped off the loge.
He really does.
He took off.
I don't even know how you do
running
it.
out of the loge and flew. He flew. Wait. So one of the things I want to talk about is head trauma. Obviously, that's an issue in wrestling.
Sure.
Right?
Yeah,
I mean,
of course.
and right
in the
now
news with football.
It's a big issue in football. Eugene Monroe, the Ravens cornerback, has just donated $40,000 to help do some of the research for head trauma. And we have found that, we know from the studies that have done in Israel that cannabis has been neuroprotective, but I want you to know that it's not just wrestling and football where you get head trauma. Ron and I have been debating for weeks. He really wants us to get into a slap fighting league. I mean, he's been looking to get into. I'm not really interested. Do you think that there is the need to do the same kind of research? I mean, all the football
CTE
players,
stuff,
the
yeah.
CTE stuff. Are you finding that in any of the older wrestlers?
Oh, of course. Yeah. I think I'm not sure about this, but I thought that it started that way. I don't know how long NFL has been into it, but
I don't either. I mean, I'm looking at you for answers on
so
this.
I donated my brain and my spine. I don't know how long ago. At least 2007, 2008. It's been a long time. Chris Nowinski, who started the whole thing in Boston, the study, at least with the wrestlers, he was one of my peers wrestling in WWE, and he had a concussion or two that ended his career. He was a Harvard graduate, really smart dude. He started doing these studies, and now he lectures people on the encephalopathy.
Right.
And anyway, I talked to him one time, and I said, look, and this was years ago. I said, I know that they're saying that THC helps, fight off the Alzheimer's, and I know that that's from the plaque buildup on your information highways there. And I said, if concussion damage is the same thing, those tau proteins sitting there, isn't it possible that marijuana could protect the brain from long-term damage from concussions? Personally, I've had hundreds of concussions, hundreds.
I was about to ask you how many. What was the worst concussion you had?
That's easy. That was before I got in the business.
Oh, okay, that was somewhere else.
Pre-wrestling. Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, I had a punk era, I mean, now I'm super cool. Last thing I want to do is try and hurt somebody.
Right.
But don't cross me, dude.